welcome to another Sister A video. This one is for wdd130 Web Fundamentals, Week 4, adding more HTML and CSS. So let's get started. We're going to be adding some more HTML and CSS to our page this week. And reminder, please do not work ahead. Even if you have skills and you've taken other classes in HTML, each week you'll be graded on certain items, and if you have your page worked way ahead, you're not going to get the correct items for that week, and you will not get a good grade. So make sure you do not work ahead. Last week we got all the content on our page. Go see them by clicking here on Show at the top of your page. All right, so now we're going to be adding some items to our page. Remember, when it asks you to click on the wireframe, it's the same thing as in your site plan, but it's a link that you can click on, and it reminds you that we're working on our header, which is this top portion, including this banner image, the main section, and then the footer. So you need to make sure first, before we go on, it shows you how each of your link items are supposed to look. Very close to that. Make sure that yours look the same and that you have the name of your page. And if you recall, you were supposed to set up 2 other pages that you're going to use, and you'll put them here and make a link for them as well. These are going to be social media links, and you're going to choose 3 of them. It's not as scary as it sounds. These are going to go into your footer down here after your information line. So to do that, first you're going to need 3 images that you plan on using. And remember, to use an image, you're going to first save it to your computer. And it's a good idea to keep all of the images you're using for your whole website in a single file so that you can go grab them and use them for your other pages, to make your wireframes, and so on. I chose a little bit differently, but you can use these here. You'll just right-click on them, save the image to your desktop or your folder on your desktop, and then you're going to drag them into your assets folder so that you can use them. Add a div line before you start anything inside the footer, and you're going to make it look like this. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to place it here. And remember, whatever you start, you're going to close it with a closing div. And they're having you do that first before you put any of the links in, so that it'll already have this ending one and you don't forget to put it in. So you're going to need 2 things here. You're going to need an image line. Top, I'll grab the logo one. You can grab any of them. Copy it. Come down here into in between the div, the social div. Social is going to stand for social media. And you're going to paste it. And I'm going to go over, and I'm going to make this alt say Facebook, because this is going to be my Facebook one. I'm going to grab in the asset folder my Facebook URL. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to replace in between the quote marks after SRC, and we should have a Facebook image at the bottom. There it is. Now, it's not been sized or anything. It's just sitting there waiting for it to be used. And it needs to be, you need to make sure it's after the information line. I'm going to do 2 more and put them inside that div. So I'm going to give myself several spaces here. Right? And I'm going to call this one Twitter. And the last one I'm going to do YouTube. Now make sure you pick ones that are reasonable for this type of a site. A lot of businesses have Facebook. A lot of businesses have Twitters for people to follow them. And I chose YouTube because you could put movies of people going down the rapids. Now I'll go get my other 2 pictures. Twitter first. And the last one is my YouTube. If you don't like the ones that are saved on the page for you, you can go find your own versions of social media icons for your choices. Well, that's for now going to give me that. But notice when I hover over it, this does not turn to a hand, so they're not links as yet. So now that's what you're needing to do, is make a link for them so that it will take you out there. And we're also going to add into that link the target _blank so that it will take us out of our website for each of those. You're needing to put the link first. So I'm going to take just this piece and take it down here. Remember, copy and paste is your friend. And I'm going to place that in front of the image. And instead of index.html, and you got to put the whole website name for Facebook, https:// It's going to be inside of these quote marks. Don't forget to have those. www.facebook.com. And there we go. And up here in the link, before the href, we're going to put this target line. All right, so let's go back to our page, and when the Facebook one should now turn into a link. See how it turns to a hand, but it doesn't there? So I'm going to click on it, and it will open Facebook on a new tab. So let's do that for the other 2. So now on my page, each one of these has become a link. My images are all showing. And if I click on them, it will take me to the individual web pages. So always check out your links and make sure that they're working properly. All right, coming down to section 4, we're going to start adding some CSS, which means we're going to start adding color, and we're going to start adding some different stylings. Now, in order to make this work, you need to make sure that you have a link going to your style page. This link and this page match. Make them both say styles with an S .css, and you're going to use the styles page for all of your pages on this website. No styling will go on your HTML page. And we look inside our styles page, and we should not have anything in there at this point. If you do, just go ahead and remove whatever's there. So now we're going to add a little bit of color. One of the best resources that you can use is Color Picker. Just start typing in Color Picker and it'll come up. It's from W3 Schools. And it's an awesome place to be able to get the colors that you like. Best ones to use are actually these, they're called hex. They have a pound sign in front of them. But I'm going to choose for my headline this color right here and have all of our H's. There are only 6 of them. So we're going to put all of those in here. I'm going to make it just color. The actual color of my headline is that blue. And right here where the body starts, not up here in the head, but in the before the header, we're going to add a div here, an ID of content. And we're not going to let it end right here. We're going to let it end way down here just before the body closes. And what this is going to do is we're going to be able to size our page and maybe give it a background color. So it's going to be there just before the body ends. But we're going to go back over to our styles now, and we're going to give it a width, but we're going to actually give it a max width, which lets us keep it proportional. And I'm going to give it gave it an ID, so we have to give it an ID here. And the ID mark inside CSS is a hashtag. And we're going to give it those curly brackets. And we're going to give it a max width. And we're going to give it 960 pixels. Like right here. And a semicolon. And the other one is going to give it a margin. Then we're going to give it a margin of 0 space auto. And what that margin does is it makes it no longer be right along the left side of the page. It gave it some space. All right, so this part is telling you about block versus inline. Please read through it. I'm going to give center to our headlines. And the other thing I want to give right away to our headlines is we're going to give them a little bit of padding. I expect to see those 3 items for your headlines. To your home paragraph 3 and give that, so the whole paragraph and headline is going to be centered. And we're going to tell it text align center. And now you'll see that that whole section is centered. We're going to put a background color into the content, ID content. And I'm going to put something that goes with my blue theme. And bring back my color picker. I'm going to get a very light blue. If you have a very light background, the color of your text needs to be darker. If you have a dark background like black, you will need a very light text color. And another thing you can do is, and I would like you to do this, is for your body, we're going to also give it a background. And it can be a background color or it can be a background image even, or a gradient. So you just type it in like that. And we're going to give it a background color, so I'm going to give it a darker blue. And this is going to fit around my outside edge so that it's going to be different from the inside part. Give it a two-tone color. That gives it a nice two-tone effect. It's looking better already, huh? And instead of just nav, it will go into nav A. One space in between those. Now they are blue. Now it's going to have us now we're going to give a background color to our nav so that we'll have a different color. Our plain old nav, because we're splitting our nav into a couple of parts. And then we're going to give that one a background color so that it'll have a bar that the navigation items are going to sit on. We're going to make our banner image, banner, a width of 100%. Now, why are we giving it that? Because we want it to go all the way across, and we gave our page a width of 960. So if we give that 100%, it'll make it go and stop at the edge. Home image, home right image, and home left image. And those are classes. And I'm going to put a comma because I'm going to just give them the same exact size. I'm going to use the same thing but change it to left. And we're going to give these a width of 450 pixels for now, and a height of 300 pixels. And we're also going to give these social media items and the logo a size also. And we made that logo an ID. And we're going to give it a width of 200 for now. And in order to do the sizing for our social media, inside the link, we're going to give this a class just before the target social media. I'm going to do the same thing for each of these. And inside the image, we're going to give it a class of icon so that we can give these a size. That way we can go over here to our styles. We're going to give a little bit of padding in between so that there's a tiny space in between them, 10 pixels. And the icon is where we're going to size our social media actual icons. And this way we don't have to write it each time. It's just one time and it sizes them. So I'm going to give it a width and a height. The reason sometimes they're a different size, a different height than they are a width. It sized them and put a little space in between. They're still over on the left, and that's okay. That's the way they're supposed to be. Notice how our paragraph is touching the edge. We want to give it at least some padding. So we're going to come back up where we did the same thing for our headlines. And paragraph is semantics, so you don't need a class or an ID. We're going to give it a padding of 10 pixels so it doesn't rest right on the edge. And give your text a little bit of color. You want it to stand off from the headlines. So I'm going to give it a dark blue. Not black, but I'm going to give it a dark blue. So I'm going to grab one of my darker blues, darker than what I use. The page looking pretty good now, huh? The one thing you do want to look at is make sure you don't have any red dots, which would show you're missing something on there, and you don't want any red dots showing errors on this page either. You want to also make sure that your links work, that your page looks basically how you would like it to look. In the navigation, I want to get rid of the underline. Inside of the nav A, we're going to add text decoration, and we're going to say none. That got rid of the underline. We're going to add one more instance of navigation. We're going to add one more instance of the nav. We're going to split it into a third part and put the list item. But the only thing we're going to put in here right now is list dash style dash type, and we're going to say none there also. But your page should look something like this. I will put a copy down at the bottom, so make sure that you check that out so that the items that I've added to mine for this week is pretty much what you're going to do to yours. And thank you for watching the Sister A video, and happy coding.